Welcome everybody to Engaging Millennial and Gen Z Minds in Education. I'm Dr. Dina Kurzweil. I'm the Senior Director of the Education and Technology Innovation Support Office at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences, and I'm also an Associate Professor of Medicine. Please take a moment and look over our goals for today. So we're going to start by examining the four major generational groups that currently make up the U.S. workforce. The graphic that you see in front of you shows the year that each of these groups fall into. This is from the Pew Research Center. And these categories are boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. The years you're looking at are the years that these people were born up until the next gen starts. So consider for a second, what group do you fall into? As you can see from this graphic, Gen Z and millennials make up more of the workforce than Gen X and baby boomers. And while this graphic reflects the workforce generally, this same pattern exists for healthcare professions. The percentage of both millennials and Gen Z in the workforce is growing, right? And as Gen Zers age into the workforce and baby boomers ease out of the workforce and retire, this is only going to increase over time. And so their perspectives are really worth learning about. In addition, engaging these and all generations effectively is crucial for the future of medicine. It can improve overall health organizational effectiveness, and it supports the development of future healthcare leaders. So, what group do you think you primarily teach with? So, a word of caution here. This section of the presentation provides some generalizations. Let me say that again. Generalizations, which can lead to stereotypes, which can be heavy to bear. So we want to clarify that we will be talking more in terms of general tendencies that research has found that many members of these generations share. And we realize that individuals will not align with all these generalizable characteristics. Remember, no one-size approach will fit all learners. And as we move beyond these stereotypes later in the presentation, we'll be able to see more ideas. So let's take a look at some of the common characteristics of the different generations that research has called out to us. So Shori, Chan, Rajadan, and Ange in a 2021 paper describe baby boomers as people who value face-to-face and phone communications. They are experienced and knowledgeable and adapt to new technologies as needed. Shori highlights that most Gen X tendencies have these learners being very comfortable with in-person and online work. They value efficiency and appreciate the technology that supports it. This group is unique in that it seeks a work-life balance. Millennials are seen as our digital natives. They value teamwork and mentorship, and they also seek a work-life balance as well as a purpose. And Shori, 2021, and Bethune, 2019, describe Gen Z as our digital natives, those with social awareness. They're independent and self-starters, and they have this awareness of mental health. If we look beyond the stereotypes, perhaps each generation can learn from the others. Bell provides us with some good examples where it's stated that Gen Z could model how to effectively multitask by staying engaged with a conversation while using a search engine to answer a question that comes up. A Gen X might coach a Gen Z learner on in-person collaboration. The focus of this presentation is on generational differences, but there are other differences that can also affect the way we interact with others in an educational environment. In some cases, cultural variance might be at least as influential as the age category a learner happens to fall in. Some cultures and traditions may be more accustomed to self-directed learning and a faculty member who is a friendly facilitator. Other cultures may value the faculty member as a primary source of knowledge and direction who should not be questioned. Gen Z is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation so far in the US workforce. Much of learning theory is presented as culture blind, as if cultural differences have no impact on learning. But we need to remember that sometimes cultural differences and experiences may and oftentimes do impact our learners. Each of the characteristics we've described are tendencies and not absolutes. No generation is homogeneous, and each member will align with these tendencies to a varying degree. Consider, for example, a millennial who does not use social media, or a baby boomer who fills their time learning new coding languages. Sometimes people challenge our assumptions and tell an alternative story from what the tendencies suggest. For example, a millennial we know would prefer to talk with their friends face to face rather than going through text. As we know, the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do to you. We realize that people are different in many ways. Age and generation is just one. The golden rule was dominant for many years. However, Gen Z and millennials have brought forth what is called the platinum rule, which states, do unto others as they prefer to be treated. This approach can help anyone, regardless of generation, to respect people's differences across context. To abide by the platinum rule, you need to question your assumptions on a continual basis. So now that we know some characteristics research highlights of each generation and how we need to remember these are generalizations, not absolutes, how can we use this information to teach? At the end of the day, good teaching is good teaching, no matter the age of the learner or whether technology was involved. But if instructional approaches can benefit learners across generations, why are we devoting a brown bag to millennials and Gen Z specifically? We're devoting a brown bag to this topic because we can understand the unique needs of many of our millennial and Gen Z learners. It can help us identify instructional strategies that supports these needs. And if you keep in mind that there are outliers in each generation, the techniques that we present here may well help those in other generations that share some of these characteristics. So now we're going to share some of these techniques with you. One of the first techniques that comes to mind is technology. We must remember to use technology intentionally. While we mention that Gen Z and millennials are digital natives, you will notice that some of the techniques we will mention include technology, but some don't. Most people today are highly connected, and we are used to instant access to information because of the widespread ability of Wi-Fi. Because of this, learners don't expect to power down when they come to class. Finding ways to intentionally incorporate technology can enhance the teaching process for all while actively engaging learners. However, intentional is the key word. Incorporating technology should be done thoughtfully, and many low-tech approaches can also engage learners. Active learning refers to a broad range of teaching strategies which engage learners as active participants in their learning during class time with their instructor. Active learning is yet another way we can give our learners agency to share their knowledge and experiences in a meaningful way, and also how we can build a community of learners that can support each other through school. Active learning examples might include reading notes. So McMurtry in 2024 described the process of assigning reading notes. For reading notes, learners must take notes on their reading assignments, which helps them actually focus their learning. Then learners are required to submit their reading notes as part of the requirement for attendance. This allows the faculty member to see what they've noticed and or what they did or did not understand. The faculty member can actually collect these the day before class so that they can make adjustments to their in-class time. Another strategy for active learning is digital teaching tools. Faculty have a variety of digital teaching tools available to make learning more engaging and active. This includes simulation, polls, and podcasts. Another resource available is your learning management system, or LMS, like Canvas or Blackboard. McMurtry, again in 2024, noticed that having an organized course site in the LMS was helpful for learners to be able to revisit material and to see the plan for the course in advance. This really helps learners plan what they're going to do and how they're going to study. Collaboration. Many millennials and Gen Z learners thrive in collaborative environments. Learners also like to gain real-world skills of accountability, creating working contracts, and time management. Create assignments for learners that have them working collaboratively to promote engagement with each other and the content. This includes group projects, peer-to-peer teaching, and team-based learning. Millennials are often purpose-driven, seeking to make real-world impact with their careers. Experiential learning is simply the process of learning by doing. Incorporating experiential learning techniques into your classes can help all learners apply knowledge in meaningful ways, promote engagement, and allow for richer discussions among learners with different backgrounds and experiences. Active and experiential learning might include some of these ideas. Case or scenario-based learning. So while full simulations can be time-consuming and require lots of resources, incorporating a sample case or scenario can be a faster way to connect new learning to the real world. Consider how anecdotes from yourself or your colleagues, case studies from literature, or fictional examples might provide a unique perspective on certain concepts that can then be discussed in class or in writing as an assignment. Patient interaction practice. Learners might have limited experience working with patients or interacting with others in a professional setting more broadly. Gen Z especially might struggle with in-person due to their increased technology use interactions and the need for additional support for patient interactions. So consider role-playing or mock interactions that can build the foundation for these learners before they actually have to do it for real. Finally, mentors. Connect learners with experienced mentors. Mentors can assist learners by setting clear goals, providing transparent communication, and offering individual support. All learners also benefit from seeing the relevance and real-world application of what they're learning. So consider having those conversations with your learners early and often. So the following is from the University of Washington, Tacoma. They state chunking course material means breaking down the presentation and pacing of your curriculum in a way that reduces the cognitive load on your learners. Breaking your course material into units, using formatting tools to make long documents more accessible, and using presentation techniques to convey importance are all part of chunking your course materials. Scaffolding is a similar concept addressing the pedagogy of your assignments and assessments, breaking them into smaller cooperative pieces that provide opportunities for formative assessment and facilitate learners achieving the learning goals you intended. All learners, regardless of generation, they can be part of and can benefit from receiving information in smaller chunks. In addition to supporting the reduced attention span of all learners, chunking provides a logical sequence for learners and teaching the breadth of information contained in our curriculum. So consider something like microlearning, which really refers to easily accessible e-learning elements, games, blogs, job aids, podcasts, infographics, videos, and other visuals that are forced on no more than one or two learning objectives. So you don't want to create a ton of these. You want to have one or two learning objectives for these unique individual pieces. Learners within generations reliant on technology often value concise, relevant information. And microlearning is an approach that supports the desire for anytime, quick bursts of learning. Now, effective course design is truly important, especially if you're able to chunk the content by breaking it down into smaller, more manageable units. This is achieved through structuring of a course intro module, lessons, and topics that are based on well-crafted, precise, and measurable learning objectives. Your objectives should structure and guide the content of the course. This hierarchical organization allows learners to progress through the material at a comfortable pace, focusing on one concept at a time. It also facilitates better retention and understanding as the brain can more easily process and store smaller chunks of information. Additionally, this approach allows for flexibility and adaptation as individual modules or lessons can be revisited and rearranged as needed. So I can't overemphasize the importance of your course design, especially when using a learning management system. And now let's talk a minute about frequent curricular check-ins. McMurtry shared that frequent curricular check-ins, such as knowledge checks, small assignments, or pulse checks, may provide opportunities for learners to both succeed and fail. By building in quick assignments like knowledge checks, polls, exit tickets, learners who, as high achievers, may not have much experience with failure can build experience with and tolerate to various levels of achievement. All of these can help reduce anxiety and promote successful learning. As I stated before, millennials and Gen Z are digital natives, comfortable with technology, and often preferring online resources. They thrive in collaborative environments and value frequent feedback. They're purpose-driven. And this suggests adding the why behind the assignments or big topics, either in the syllabus or verbally, can help learners feel oriented in their purpose and make connections to the real world impact what they're learning and doing has for them. However, they may need more structure than previous generations and can be accustomed to quick information consumption. Structured assignments provide clear guidance for assignments, which will help learners to know what is expected and reduce emails to faculty from learners. This includes developing pieces like guidance on the requirements, rubrics, and examples. It's imperative that faculty establish course expectations for learners to define what success looks like. And in order to support this, these learners should be receiving regular and precise feedback. Supporting these learners, instructors should provide opportunities for learners to ask questions. And talking about that, Ask Me Anything sessions, or AMAs, are familiar to digital natives from social media. In the context of a course, a faculty might host an AMA or Ask Me Anything session in person, via the LMS, or even online. These sessions are open invitations to learners to ask questions about upcoming assignments or exams. Faculty can set any needed guidelines for these AMAs, including the scope of questions, the start and end dates. Faculty might field all questions or encourage learners to answer each other's questions as a different way of engaging the learners in the content. Reviewing and analyzing these AMAs allows you to start developing a living, frequently asked questions. These frequently asked questions can be placed within a discussion board, on a page, or in a document that you as the faculty member can regularly update to incorporate answers and questions from individual learners. Leveling up your teaching strategies for all generations is an investment in the future of our health professionals. Keeping your learners engaged and motivated can result in higher retention rates and a future-ready workforce. By adapting our methods, we empower all healers. Thank you for watching today's Teaching with Technology Brown Bag session. You can view all Teaching with Technology Brown Bags on the USU YouTube channel under the full ETI playlist. Have a nice day.